Welcome. Every once in a while, a HOI4 mod arrives, which is made with no particular score in mind, no particular goal, but by pure passion. A mod made for a niche audience, but then we are already a niche audience. We play HOI4 for God's sake. But this particular mod is in that category. A mod so well designed, so well optimized, and yet it flew under the radar. This mod is African Dawn. African Dawn is a mod which begins on 30th September 2022 with a military coup in Burkina Faso led by Captain Ibrahim Traore. From then to almost the end of the 2020s, you play in the near future and you will decide the fate of this important part of the Sahel and the Sahara. The map has got multiple paths and multiple victory conditions for different types of factions. At the moment, these are all of the playable countries in the game. The Republic of Mali, which is Pan-Africanist. It has cut off the tentacles of the French octopus. They have to save Mali, support the anti-colonial movement. Then we have the Republic of Niger under Mohamed Bazoum. After that, we have the Republic of Chad. The Republic of Chad is another dictatorship. Then we have the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is currently beset by the Boko Haram insurgency of Islamic fundamentalists in the northern Sahel. And of course, we have the all-important Burkina Faso under Ibrahim Traore. Fortune favors the bold. In this video, I will be taking a quick look at all of the different factions in this game, which also includes America, France, and Russia, by the way. Yes, you can also play as America, France, or Russia, although the main content is focused on Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and Niger. So let's start with Burkina Faso. The mod has got 7 years of playable content, and it has full English localization, a brand new map focused on Africa with hundreds of new icons and fast gameplay with excellent optimization. Let me just go over all of the nations quickly. Most of them are really just IRL nations. There is no real difference. But they have also done a great job of simulating all the different insurgencies like the Boko Haram in this. Okay, let me show you Burkina Faso now. Burkina Faso, which was Upper Volta until 1984, is a country in the Sahel region. In 1983, as a result of a series of coups, Thomas Sankara, a captain in the Burkinabe army, came to power. During his tenure, he carried out a series of major social and economic reforms, but his policies were not liked by neighboring countries and the former metropolis under its patronage. In 1986, a conference of Burkina Faso's neighboring countries was held with French support. They demanded him to roll back his revolutionary initiatives. In 1987, Thomas Sankara was killed in a coup and Blaise Compaoré became the ruler of Burkina Faso for the next 27 years. The Arab Spring and events in Libya gave rise to a large-scale Islamist movement in the Sahel. This led to a jihadist uprising in Burkina Faso in 2015. The government actively used French military support, but over the years the problem was not resolved. Frustrated with the authorities' leniency towards French crimes against the country, a coup happened in January 2022, but this was followed by another coup on September 2022 where Ibrahim Traore came to power. He broke ties with France and established warm relations with Russia. He is the true successor of the ideas of Thomas Sankara, and now he is hated by almost all of his neighbors. This is the focus tree for Ibrahim Traore. The first is Fortune favors the bold. fighting against terrorists. As you can see, it has complete localization for all of the national focus icons. I'm sure you're a bit bothered by the music, so let me turn it off. Yes. Then we have gathering clouds. Whispers of discontent are carried by the winds of the Sahel. Economic hardships, political instability, and the constant terrorist threat. After that, we have will for freedom, and then we have a choice. What do we do? The first is dreams of election. The dust of the coup has settled. The country is tired of upheavals. The military, aware of the burden of power and the fragility of the situation, decided not to hold on to it forever. The first free elections have been held in Burkina Faso. This will lead to taking a light breath as the years of oppression and tyranny are now in the past. There will be social development, the extended hand of reforms to support private businesses, and a firm handshake with Brussels and the European Union. There will also be a French mandate to counter the threat of Islamic radicalization. There will be a growth in the number of French Foreign Legion troops, and the power of democracy and the voice of the free world will ring high in Burkina Faso. But that is the bourgeoisie route. There is another, homeland and or death. A coup attempt by a handful of conspirators fails miserably. Captain Traore and his course towards building a strong and independent Burkina Faso has now begun. The first is to counteract ECOWAS's influence, the Economic Community of West African States. Then there is the question of elections. The future of the political system has to be decided. There will be a new constitution. The current laws were not written for us, says Traore. We need a new basic law. From now on, the path of Burkina Faso will be determined by the new constitution to consolidate the power of General Ibrahim. Then there will be developing cooperation with the peoples of Mali and Niger. After that, there will be an example of unity, voice of lies. There will be an information war by the French and the Americans, which we shall have to counteract. There will be lessons of friendship. A new Russian embassy will be opened because Russia is one of our best friends. Politics in our lives. The revolutionary politics will soon eclipse every aspect of Burkinabe lives, and the first wave of students will now reach Russia. The Putin Prize shall be given to deserving Burkinabe candidates. Future for the youth, our hero Thomas Sankara, and now General Ibrahim. Hear the people. After that, we have healthcare and sovereignty and a bright future ahead. On this side, we have forming the Sahel Confederation, a new confederation which adheres to the ideals of Pan-Africanism and socialism. This will be a turning point and a decisive step. Protect the churches against Islamic fundamentalist attacks. After that, we shall expel the bourgeoisie French diplomats. We shall embrace Chinese support. Beijing is sympathetic to the challenges faced by Burkina Faso. A question for the Ivory Coast. The patience of the revolutionary people of Burkina Faso is not limited. We shall make it clear to the authorities of Côte d'Ivoire to harbor enemies of the revolution on their territory is to spit in the face of the brotherly peoples. After that, we have You Are No Longer Welcome. Foreigners will be expelled from Burkina Faso, especially those from Western countries. Cabinet reshuffle, French espionage, and the question of language. On this side, we have a huge economic focus tree. Again, there are two types of economics, like here, for example, we can select Western science or we can rebuild our own healthcare. We can have Sahel cooperation or we can have ECOWAS cooperation. Russian or American, expanding imports or strengthening the local market. But I will not show all of them to you. That is for you to figure out when you play this mod. For now, let me, for example, try annexing this nation. See, there are a lot of events in this game as well. Like here, Damiba resigns. Burkina Faso's president Paul Henry Damiba has resigned. Then Zelensky announces Ukraine's application to NATO and all that stuff. And there are a lot of different types of focus, sorry, not focus, but decisions that you can take. Look at all of these events. You can build up your military, you can restore education, you can combat corruption, but most importantly, we have the Battle for Africa system, which basically determines who is winning the battle for Africa, ECOWAS or the Pan Africanists. But anyway, that was all for Burkina Faso. Now let me show you another one. And yes, the mod has a lot of amazing crafted loading screens too. Let's see the USA, for example. It is led by Michael Woods. America is the policeman of the world. Now, physically, America or France or everyone else, they are represented by these little air bases or military bases on the soil of different nations here. America, Russia, France. The presence of the USA in Africa began in the 19th century, okay? There's no need to really read all of this. Let's move on to see the focus tree. 15 years of AFRICOM. In 2007, reflecting the strategic importance of Africa, the US Congress allocated $500 million to the Trans-Saharan Counterterrorism Initiative. This funding was aimed at strengthening partnerships with African nations. Now, 15 years later, it is quite successful. Old world blues, changes are sweeping across every corner of the planet, and Africa is no exception. We must overcome challenges. The sheriff is back in town. Light of freedom. America is the true light of freedom. New places to deploy. Partners in Benin. As a result of lengthy negotiations, the United States of America and Benin have signed an agreement to construct an American military base on Beninese territory. Visit to Cote d'Ivoire. So basically, we are trying to win over different African nations to our side to counter Russian influence in West Africa. It is pretty simple. This mod is basically Cold War on African soil, Cold War in the Sahara. But instead of just two sides, there are a multitude of sides, like the Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, and even the French. Like you might expect that France's interests always align with that of America, but that is not true. Because remember that back in the 1960s, when the Biafran War was going on, America wholeheartedly supported Nigeria, but so did the Soviet Union. And France, on the other hand, really wished to support Biafra. They sent a lot of mercenaries and foreign legion troops. So, at least in this part of the world, American interests do not always line up with the interests of other European nations. Let's take a look at Niger now. We shall do alternate. One African nation, one European nation. Niger possesses enormous mineral resources including uranium. In 2011, Mahmoud Issoufou, a mining engineer educated in France, became the president of Niger. He was re-elected for a new term in 2016. Jihadist movements are on the rise, and Mahmoud Bazoum is a close ally of France. Nice. Again, as you can see, there are different types of leaders for different types of ideologies. The first is Franco-centrism. which is basically, hey, we love you, France, and we are democratic. The second is Pan Africanism, which borrows the legacy of Thomas Sankara. Then we have Islamic fundamentalism. In here, the leader is Abu Bakr Bongongu. And then a pragmatic, normal dictatorship. And they also have different types of icons for virtually every single thing. Like, look at this here, for example. We have got African icons. This man here, he's not a random person from, say, England. No, he's a real African man. This mod has really paid a lot of attention to make sure that every part of it feels African. Now, we begin with too many problems: protests against French pressure, national protests, and then the Great Revolution. Finally, the reign of the American mongrel Bazoum is destroyed. In his place comes a military council supported by the masses. So Bazoum is on the way out. Then the fate of justice. What shall we do with Bazoum? The will of the people. End of European mission. Solidarity with the Russians. National School of Oil and Gas. Anti-imperialism. Tensions with Benin might lead to war in the Sahel. Chinese exports. Protect our own resources. And then, of course, we have to send diplomatic missions to all of our allied countries forwards to the future. The mod's creator himself has stated that Burkina Faso is the hardest nation in this game. It is not easy, but it is also the nation with the most amount of content, the most amount of localization. If you can win as Burkina Faso, then it will be worth it. You'll really feel that you are spreading the revolution of Pan-African socialism to the entire Sahara. The sands shall be painted red. And in stark contrast to that stands nations like Niger or Nigeria. Sahelic currency. Just look at the sheer amount of localization that this mod has. Not many mods these days bother to complete localization on their first release. Look at this, for example. I really like this one: Race Against Colonialism. The slave who cannot accept his own rebellion does not deserve pity. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. We don't ask anyone to feel sorry for us. So that was Niger. Moving on to yet another nation. Oh, see, another good loading screen. Let's see France now. France is led by Bruno Barat. He is Franco-centrist. France has never really left West Africa. I mean, yes, they did decolonize, but despite that, France continues to exert a lot of influence on West Africa. The first thing that the French have to do is Operation Barkhane. Despite the significant efforts and resources invested by France and its allies, terrorist groups continue to be a big problem. Exchange of experience, expanding the training program. This entire focus tree has a lot of localization again. It seems like we are building up a strong army, a strong footprint, economic spy network, everything possible to help the nations in our sphere of influence fight Islamic fundamentalism and Pan-African socialism. Very interesting. Now let's look at one more nation. Okay, we'll look at two more. Let's look at Russia and Nigeria. Nigeria is ruled by Muhammad Buhari. There is huge amounts of drug trafficking and, of course, a war with the Boko Haram. Despite the danger posed by Boko Haram, we are forced to keep the information obtained during interrogations secret from the public. We cannot risk excessive public concern. That is a big problem that the Republic of Nigeria faces. In 1967, a civil war began in Nigeria, which ended in 1970. In 1975, ECOWAS was established with its headquarters in Lagos. In 2002, the terrorist group called Boko Haram was formed in Nigeria with allegiance to the ISIS. So there are ongoing challenges. Okay, so this is the first country in the mod which doesn't have localization. Okay, but still has a lot of cool icons. I really like the focus icon art here. Like, look at this one, corrupt connections. You don't even need localization to know what this means. Or this one, the end of Boko Haram, hunting the gangs. Look at this. This looks so nice. Identify the cultists. I really like it. Make every naira count. And after that, I will take a quick look at Russia and then we are done. Russia is, the Russian nation in this mod, not really nation, I would say. Basically, Russian influence in Africa is led by a man called General Akhfurov. So Putin supports anyone who opposes American French influence regardless of ideology. Like, he supports Burkina Faso's Pan Africanists. He supports other people all over West Africa. Anyone who opposes the Americans is fair game. Breaking chains. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Oh, so Russia doesn't really have content. Okay. Anyway, so that is the game for you guys. I hope you really enjoyed. But hey, where are you going? I'm pretty sure that you want to see what was there on my thumbnail for this video. Yes, it is BH. So you oh, look at this, by the way. Look at this thing. Government of National Unity versus the state of Libya. There is an ongoing civil war. The mod also shows all of the ongoing civil wars. Like, look at this Vilayat Sahel under Abu Huzaifa. He's basically an ISIS man who is fighting the entire Africa. Or look at this, the Shahrawi Arab Democratic Republic under Brahim Ghali. Yes, now, oh, another thing. Look, all of these bases are named, like the US Air Base 201, the Arlid base, the Chizorin base, the Atar base. Yes, so that is it. Now let me just load this here. Yeah. Yes, don't ask me how I did this. But yes, Africa has now seen the light of I don't really know what to say. So, on this note, I will close the video. I'm leaving a link to this excellent mod down in the description. Do try it out and have a great day.